Beautiful, beautiful. I want you to write down 3 things for me, please. I want you to, first of all, write down the word perspective. Perspective. And the word after that, I want you to write underneath it, vision. And then underneath that, I want you to put choices. So perspective, vision, and choices. This is what I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to be real with you and start from the beginning. I was born in a blessed country. I was born to parents with the support I needed. You see, when I was born, it was such a tragedy. It was such a great shock to everybody. We had ultrasounds done when Mum was pregnant with me. I was her firstborn. And my mum made sure that we had the best doctors in Melbourne. My mum was a nurse and delivered hundreds of babies before I was born. She knew exactly what to do and what not to do in her first pregnancy. Yet, having all these precautions, this happened. And anybody who saw me and saw my parents automatically thought that, hey, this is a bad thing. And I mean, for anyone to say that would be a good thing, that is not sane. That would be insane. To say that, hey, congratulations, your baby's born without arms and legs. It was such just a pause in their life where they couldn't breathe. They couldn't fathom. What kind of life is their firstborn son going to live? Without arms and legs, he can't even feed himself. He can't even dress himself. Doctor said I would never be able to stand up, let alone jump around. You know, I'm so thankful that they knew nothing until I was born. Because imagine if my parents did know, and they would have what? The option of abortion. And the majority of the doctors, I believe, would encourage such an act. Why? Because what we see in this child's life is not going to be a good quality lifestyle for you and your child. And the wisest thing you could do is abort. Well, hey, who knew? Who knew that I would become a 23-year-old professional motivational speaker, speaking to 1 million people all around the world, starting schools in third world countries, building hospitals in the future and orphanages and all that stuff. We sponsor 43 kids who don't have food, fresh water and all that sort of stuff. And that's just the beginning. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a stock market investor. I love options trading. That's becoming one of my professions. I love real estate investing. I love the fact that we can make money doing real estate developing. Make our money, make more money. I love that fact. I love the fact, though, above all, that I can give the world something that others cannot. But before I tell you all that good stuff, let me tell you the more down times in my life. Obviously, it was difficult for my parents, but it was also difficult for me. When I went to school, a lot of kids teased me. A lot of kids put me down. It was very difficult at starters to find friends because everybody would look at me and think, well, maybe he also has a mental disability, and then people don't know how to approach me. But my parents encouraged me to just speak with people. And as I speak, a lot of people would say, well, hey, he's just like everybody else, just with a few parts missing. You know, I'm just like you. I've just gone out on the limb a couple more times than you have for my friends. But it's all good. But it was very difficult at times, and I had no one to tell me that everything's going to be okay the way I wanted it said. Because the way I wanted it said was, I wanted to be able to believe someone when they said, Nick, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. The problem is, if anyone did say that, even my parents at times, I would say, how do you know? How do you know how it feels to be in my position? You don't even know the future. How can you say that I'm going to have a good life? You cannot. Last January, within 3 weeks, 3 of my family members died. January 2005, my uncle, my grandfather, and one of my cousins. The day after my grandfather was buried, my uncle, 53-year-old man, had a heart attack, died. 5 days before he died, he was at the doctor's and everything was fine. What can you tell me to encourage me? Can you tell me anything? Only if you've been through it. And this is what I'm here about. I want to tell you, I was depressed. I had suicidal thoughts at the age of 8. I had this massive list of all the things that I couldn't do and I'll never have in life. I never thought, I'd get married. Who'd want a husband without arms and legs? And I thought even if I ever did get married, I'm not going to be even able to hold my wife's hand. I'm not going to be able to dance with my bride on our wedding night. I used to hate going to public parks and seeing fathers throwing up their kids in the air and sometimes dropping them. I won't have that intimacy with my sons and my daughters. And I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And no one had any answers. And I thought I was the only one in such a predicament. What happened? What changed? The first thing I got you to write down was perspective. How you see your life is the first key. Who are you? And where are you in life? This is the first question I want to ask you. Even though the world can look at me, they can say, well, a guy having no arms and no legs, his potential is not unlimited, but limited. His potential, just because he has no arms and no legs, humanly speaking, in our logic, he's not going to be as successful as everybody else. Really? Why? Because of his disability. Really? What is a disability? Have you ever thought of that? A disability. I'll tell you what a disability is. Something that would hinder you to achieve something. Now, just because I have no arms and no legs, it doesn't mean that I can't be successful. It doesn't mean that I can't do a business degree like I've done, a Bachelor of Commerce in Financial Planning and Accounting. That didn't stop me. Then what really stops you? Your mind. The way you see your life and where you are going will determine how successful you will be in life. I could say, yeah, I'm a guy without arms and legs, but what? I have my little chicken drumstick. Don't ask yourself and see what you don't have, see what you do have, and then say, okay, this is where I am. But don't limit yourself to say, well, if only I had this, or if only I had that. You can think of all the things that you don't have, but I want to ask you, is that really constructive? No. Why? Because no one can turn back time. It's up to you with what you do with today. Your priorities, your daily agenda will determine how successful you are. You want to know something? I started to be thankful. Thankful? Why, Nick? How could you be thankful? My mum showed me a newspaper article of a young man who had a disability, not similar to mine, but it was also unexplained medically. And I thought, you know what? I'm not the only one with something to bear. But I'm telling you, this perspective is everything. Giving yourself enough credit. Write this down. Give yourself credit. Even if the whole world told me that, Nick, you have no arms and no legs, you're not good enough, you're not going to reach your fullest potential, and even if you do, it's not going to be compared to anybody else's potential because you have no arms and no legs. Even if the whole world has that discouragement on you or their view on you, you don't have to believe them. You get it? You don't have to believe others' opinions. Because it's just an opinion. If a doctor comes to you and says, hey, I'm sorry, you've got cancer. What are you going to do? Get a second opinion. Right? Why? Because you want to make sure that he's right. You want to know exactly how much you have to live and what's going on. Well, why not get a second opinion when people put you down? Why not get a second opinion when your family thinks you're dreaming? Tell him he's dreaming.